In this video, we will cover the why of maximum minimum gradient lines. So, why do we need maximum minimum gradient lines? Well, if you think about it, every measurement we make has an uncertainty associated with it. And since the graph, this linear graph, is made from our measurements, everything about the graph, which means its gradient, as we can see in the equation over here, and its constant will have an uncertainty as well. It just flows on naturally using that logic. So, how do we get maximum minimum gradient lines? Well, we start off by taking the highest and lowest x values. The highest and lowest x values we have for our linear graph, which in this case, if we look here, will be 0.316 and 0.707, right? So these two values are our lowest and highest x values. So then we look at the corresponding y values. We look at the y values because it is their uncertainty that determines the magnitude of the uncertainty of the gradient. To explain that further, I'll show you what I mean by drawing this out. So, let's just say we have, we take the lowest and highest x values, right? So, and we look at the error bars for just those two. So these two are the two error bars, right? And so we have our line going through something like this, right? That's our line of best fit that we got in Excel before, this one, right? It's drawn very roughly, but the idea is still there, right? And now, these vertical error bars are the ones that are important, like I said before, because they determine the gradient of our line. So if you think about it, if you were to take a line going from the lowest possible value for this for the y variable, so period, which is over here, and the highest possible value for this error bar, so the lowest possible value for a lowest possible period value for a lowest x value, and the highest possible period value for our highest x value. And if we drew a line from the 2 points, we would get another line which has a steeper gradient than our original line. And we know that a steeper gradient means a higher gradient, because that's just the way straight lines work. And if it has a high gradient, then we call it the maximum gradient line. So this red one is the maximum gradient line. So similarly, to find the minimum gradient line, if we take the highest possible period value for the lowest x value, and we take the lowest possible period value for the highest x value, which would be over here, and then drew a line, we would get a line that has a less steep gradient than our original line, and since the gradient isn't as steep anymore, the gradient is lower, and so we call it the minimum gradient line. So, just to recap, the maximum gradient line is made by using the lowest possible y value, the lowest possible period value for the lowest x value, and the highest possible period value for the highest x value, and the minimum gradient line is made by taking the highest possible y value for the lowest x value, and the lowest possible y value for the highest x value. In the next video, we'll cover how to do this on Excel.